Ohio Senator JD Vance. Senator Vance, welcome back to the show. We have talked about a bunch of things. I'm glad you're here. First of all, let me just hit the riff, all right? I want to get to the trial in a minute. Let me hit the riff. I thought Biden's speech was a disgrace. As I said, he's doing an enormous disservice. Morehouse is a fabulous college. Their graduates do better, actually, than the national average, for heaven's sakes. And he's trying to harken back as though today is the 1950s or worse in some Jim Crow. What do you make of this stuff?
Well, I think you're exactly right, Larry. It's a disgrace. First of all, congratulations to those graduates. I feel terrible for them that on their graduation day they had to sit and listen to Joe Biden. But importantly, Larry, what Joe Biden can't do is he can't run on the idea that he's lowered inflation, that he's brought down the cost of food. He can't tell those graduates that it's easier to start a small business because borrowing costs are down. And he can't tell them that it's easier to buy a home if they want to start a young family, because on all of those issues, he has failed where Donald Trump succeeded. So what he's trying to do, and I think it's insulting to the graduates, is distract them from the fact that he has been a failure of a president by pointing to racism and telling them that they should feel like victims rather than be mad at him for a set of policies that have made America worse off. Now here's I think the most destructive part of this entire victim mentality that you see taking over the Democratic Party and represented in Biden's speech, Larry, is I think one of the healthiest things, the best things that we can tell our young people is, whether you were dealt a great hand or a crappy hand, you should feel gratitude. Nobody is made better by feeling like they are a victim and they are owed something. We got to tell people to be thankful for what they have, whatever it is they ultimately got. And I think that's just such an important lesson that all leaders should be teaching. Joe Biden, unfortunately, is teaching the exact opposite.
Yeah, there was not one. I mean, your victim point is a good point. He's trying to make these kids into victims. They are not. And anyway, Morehouse's record is fabulous. I mean, that's another point. Biden should be exhorting them with optimism, encouraging them, to live the American dream and succeed. And he's not. So your point is well taken. But, this is going to be a grocery store, kitchen table type election. The affordability crisis is very real. Real wages are down. Prices are up. Interest rates and borrowing is up. I mean, Biden has failed on those issues, so he's resorting to this cheap racist charge.
That's exactly right, Larry. And as you know, the engine of real job creation and wealth creation in our country is small business formation. And it's so hard to start a small business in this country right now because interest rates are through the roof. We also know that one of the other main ways that American families, especially the middle class, generates wealth is by owning a home. And you've got tons of young families all across the state of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, who can't get into that starter home because thanks to his inflationary policies, interest rates are through the roof. Larry, I want to live in a country where people can get married, have children, and actually put that family in a home that they can afford. I want them to earn a wage that can support a family at a good job. Every single dimension of the economy has degraded under Joe Biden, and he can't fess up to it. I almost just wish, and I would respect him more, Larry, if he said, we tried some things out. They were a failure. We're going to try to take this country in a different direction. That's not what he's doing, which is why, Larry, we really, really need to take this country in a different direction come November.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of a Bill Clinton reset, but it never came. And Biden keeps getting pulled by the Bernie Sanders wing, the far left wing of the party. You're right. Just a word. I know you were down at the Trump trial. Jonathan Turley was just reporting, as we've heard from others, that the judge seemed to be favoring the prosecution over the defense. You have a quick thought on that one, Senator?
Well, I think unfortunately Turley is right about that. On every single ruling, it seems like the judge, who of course was a Biden-Harris campaign donor, Larry, we have to remember that, has clearly shown a bias against Donald Trump. And I think it's come at the expense not just of Donald Trump, but the cause of justice. Larry, Democrat or Republican, Biden voter or Trump voter, we cannot accept this principle that the President of the United States and the Democrats get to try to jail their political opponents. This is not okay. And if we allow this to continue, Larry, we're going to wake up in a third world banana republic. That's why we need to fight back against it, whatever our politics.
Speaking of third world, I want to ask you about the open borders, the catastrophe of the open borders. Rumored is a Biden executive order, which he said he had no power to do, but now he suddenly discovered the power that would allow 4,000 illegals a day, which comes to something like 1.5 million a year. If you go to 4,001 or up to 5,000, he'll shut the border down. I don't know if anybody believes that. And then I read in the papers this morning, Senator Chuck Schumer is going to take another look at this misbegotten immigration bill that failed earlier before. Senator Vance, do you have thoughts on this stuff? Is 1.5 million illegals okay? I mean, does anybody think there's a crisis down there? Is anybody going to exercise any real leadership? Is anything going to happen?
Unfortunately, I don't think there is, Larry. We have to remember that Joe Biden ran on undoing every single one of Donald Trump's border policies. He ran on ending Remain in Mexico. He ran on ending a number of Trump administration policies that brought some sense of stability to the southern border. And then he gets in there, he does exactly what he promises, and then exactly what we knew would happen actually happens. You have a terrible border crisis. You have millions of people flooding across. You have a number of people dying from fentanyl overdoses. And now all of a sudden, Joe Biden cares about border security. We know it's not because he recognizes this is a crisis. It's because he recognizes that the polling is so bad. One last thing on this, Larry. Chuck Schumer is talking about a border security bill that does nothing to secure the border. Barack Obama, last Democrat president, paroled 5,000 illegal aliens. Joe Biden is paroling 1 million per year. This border bill does nothing about parole. It does nothing about Remain in Mexico. And importantly, Larry, it gives the ability to grant asylum claims over to liberals within the administrative bureaucracy. It'll actually make the border crisis worse. But what it does do is it gives Democrats an opportunity to say, look, we care about the border, even though they're doing exactly the opposite of securing the border. So we have to fight back against this stuff in the United States Senate, Larry. All Republicans should be all hands on deck, because this is a political opportunity for Democrats that will actually make the border crisis even worse. It's a lose-lose proposition.
And just one more. I don't hear any reference to deporting criminals back to wherever they came from, which I think is a big issue among American voters. What you think?
It's absolutely a big issue among American voters, and we probably have right now 25 million illegal aliens in this country. If you're not willing to deport the worst of the worst, the criminal migrants, the people who have, killed innocent Americans, then the message that you send to other criminals all over the world is, so long as you get across Joe Biden's open border, we're never going to send you back. We've got to enforce our border, Larry, and that starts with a willingness to deport people who have broken our laws. If we can't do that, we don't have a country, and we're inviting a border invasion to continue into the next administration.
Senator Vance, you're terrific. Thank you for coming back on. Everyone around this good place is going to yell at me if I don't ask you at least one question. If the vice presidential nomination were offered to you by Mr. Trump, would you take it?
I think it's very, very important to take our country in a different direction, Larry. I'll be interested in helping out however I can.
Good answer. Thank you.